Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
1 second. I need a mic. Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for coming out. We really appreciate it on this brisk for Charleston winter day. My name's Laurie Beckman. I'm the campaign manager for Cherny for Congress, and we really appreciate all of you being here. We're gathered here today to hear some exciting news from Dimitri Cherny. A new chapter for the Low Country is on the horizon, one where everyone is valued, and even this beautiful view out here is valued. You know, we want to include everybody, not just a select few, as previous members of Congress have done. But first, I'd like to introduce you to a man who's taking pictures. I'd like to introduce you to a man who has a unique ability to somehow appear in multiple places at once. If you're looking for a volunteer, a leader, if you have a need or a cause, Pastor Thomas Dixon is always there. We don't know how he does it. We suspect he may have been cloned. It just doesn't seem possible. Pastor Dixon does some incredible work in the community with mentoring youth, equal rights, police reform, reducing gun violence, reducing domestic violence, increasing the minimum wage. He is the co-founder of the coalition, Citizens People United to Take Back Our Community, and he's president of the Carolina Alliance for Fair Employment. Pastor Dixon.
Thank you. Really, I'm going to let y'all know, this ain't me. This is the astral image, okay? This is a hologram. Don't believe everything that you see. I start off by saying don't believe everything you see, because believing in what you see is something that's extremely valuable to me. Honesty, truth, righteousness, justice.
Sir, we're trying to record video here.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. Y'all missed that. While y'all doing that, I want to come up a little bit. All right.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right. All right. All right. I feel a lot more comfortable now. I felt like when I was in court one time, on the wrong side of the bench. Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that. But believing in what you see is extremely important. Believing in one another is extremely important. The characteristics of honesty, truth, righteousness, justice, those things that make us as a people better, and those things that make each one of us better collectively, so we can work with one another, so we can actually build bridges together, establish communities together, and work for the greater good of one and all. Those are very important things. I don't think anybody would dispute me on that fact. Unfortunately, in some areas of our government, those things like honesty, truth, moral values, and ethics have been twisted by some of the people who have been selected by the people to serve the people and supposedly for the people. I say all of that to say this. A couple of years ago, I happened to be introduced to a young man that really really from the outset, he really impressed me. He showed up at a march and a rally just out of the blue, like a lot of folks do. I've seen folks at rallies for truth and justice, for stop the violence, come and go. But this young man I'm talking about, he showed up and he stayed up. It seemed like every time I turned around, as they say, whoop, there he was. So I got to know him a bit more through involvement and through engagement. And I started to get a good understanding of that character, the thing that separates the good from the bad, the right from the wrong, the just from the unjust, the equalizers from those who are not willing to make equality. That man was Dimitri Cherny. I've seen Dimitri in every kind of situation you can imagine. From helping the homeless, to marching against gun violence, to speaking out against injustice and disparities in the educational process, not only in this county, but in other counties. I've seen him as far away in my personal experience as Columbia, advocating and standing up for truth and justice. And basically, folks say they see me everywhere. Well, guess who I see when I get there? Dimitri Cherny. But beyond that, beyond the fact that I know that he is a true advocate for social justice, I know also that he's a man of truth. He's a man who is not afraid to embrace the truth, even when the truth is about him. He's a man who stands up and fights for truth and equality for all. And if there's a wrong being done, he's not afraid to stand up and try to make it right. I've seen this with my own eyes, and I bear witness to the fact that Dimitri Cherny is not only a man of vision, but he's a man of completion. I'm not standing up here blowing smoke, y'all. This is Pastor Dixon speaking. I don't have time for untruth. But what I do have time, no matter what my schedule might be, is to stand next to somebody that I've grown to love and to respect, somebody that I know is a man of integrity, truth, and somebody that I'm proud to call, first and foremost, my friend, my brother, my comrade in arms. And I know that I cannot make that statement about the current 1st Congressional District congressman that's seated right now. I ain't never seen him out here on the ground grinding. Never. As much as y'all have seen me, I saw him walk up on me once during the Walter Scott aftermath, and he used it for a photo op to take a picture with Pastor Dixon. But if I walked past him on the street without a red scarf on, he wouldn't know me from Adam. Now I'm gonna get off that part of it because I've been asked to introduce the man of the hour, my friend, and the next congressman for the 1st Congressional District in the state of South Carolina, Dimitri Cherny.
Those of you that know me know I'm a big crybaby, and boy, that could really get me going. You know, over the last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of friends asking me, why am I running for Congress? And why I'm running for Congress, and if you know me, you know I'm kind of a jokester, so I usually have a good response, something like, well, I've heard the benefits program is really good. Or my favorite lately has been, well, the oil companies are paying me millions of dollars to vote for offshore drilling. And surprisingly, when I say that to a number of people, they kind of nod in agreement and go, yeah, okay, that's understandable. Which is pretty scary if you think about it, that we've gotten to this point where we think our elected representatives can actually be owned by other people, not by us. Well, many politicians have a ready answer to why are you running for Congress, but it's probably because they've thought they were going to be a politician for a long time. And frankly, if you know me, this is kind of new for me. This is something I never would have guessed 10 years ago or 20 years ago that I was going to do. So I kind of struggled to come up with a good answer for exactly why that sums up exactly where I am now in my life. Well, Pastor Thomas Dixon is one of those caring Charlestonians, just like many of you here, my friends, who are trying to make the world a better place for all of us. And Thomas, as you know, is a voice for the silent, a friend to the friendless, and comfort for the suffering. All of us are fighting the good fight for people who have found themselves, for one reason or another, at the wrong end of society, at the wrong end of our economy. If our economy paid people in dollars based on how they made us feel, the love that they exude, Thomas would be a gazillionaire, in my opinion. And Thomas and all of you have made Charleston my home. Thank you, Thomas. And they made me recognize the words of that great American philosopher, Muhammad Ali, when he said, "Service to our fellow man is the rent we pay for our room here on earth." Like all of my friends, I'm now taking the advantages I was born with and the talents I was given and the skills that I've learned along my long and strange journey to try to make the world a better place for all of us. But I haven't been like this. That man that Thomas described wasn't me 10 years ago. I was one of the people, with so many Americans, who was living really just to earn more and more money every year. The biggest concerns in my life were my paycheck and my savings account, my 401k, and where I was going to vacation every year. I was what I called coin operating. Give me dollars and I'd do the job. And when you think about it, who could you blame for being that way? Because that's exactly what our society teaches us. That's what it shows us. Something like 70% of kids polled today think that getting rich is the best thing that they can do. I was playing the game. I was an expert in my field in the high-tech industry. I traveled all over the world. I had proverbially found myself behind the wheel of a big automobile with a beautiful house and a beautiful wife. And then the recession of 2008 hit. And I lost everything. And when you're wealthy, you don't lose everything all at once. You lose it gradually because you think it's going to come back. You think you're going to recover until you continue paying things out. But eventually I found myself homeless. And I was about to make a cardboard sign and beg at the bottom of an exit ramp. And I was checking Monster.com that morning for jobs, and I saw an ad for truck driving school. Well, a month later, I was on the highways of America, driving across 47 states. And the people I met out there, I didn't know existed. People who, like me, had lost everything, but for most of them, they lost it very suddenly. Because what I didn't know while I was pursuing my career and watching my 401k grow is that most of Americans 75% of us, by some estimates, are living paycheck to paycheck with hardly anything in savings. Most Americans are one minor disaster, a car wreck, an unexpected health issue, or even a day in court from losing their jobs and becoming homeless, like I was, like so many of us are. Thousands of other people I met along the way never even got the chance to lose everything because they were born in circumstances where they just couldn't get ahead from the beginning. All that, for a guy that had lived pretty high in America, was pretty shocking. And so for the next year and a half, while I was driving the highways of America, I was thinking, how did this happen? Why was this so random and seemingly unfair that some people did well and some people didn't do so well? And so I decided I was going to while driving on the highways of America. And it was a great experience for me. What I learned is that only legislation, and typically national legislation, can improve the lives of the average American. Our economy works on rules that are determined by legislation, determined by our legislators, by our representatives, by we the people, essentially. And if you change those rules, the economy changes. And when the economy changes, people's lives change for the better, or sometimes for the worse. What this means is we could have a society where people don't have to worship the dollar. We could have a society where people aren't focused on making the deal today, or their paycheck this week, or what their bonus is going to be this month or this quarter. Instead, they can be focusing on the long term, on the future, and what impact their decisions are making on our kids and our grandkids. Instead, we could have a society in which people like Thomas, like many of you, who are working to make this world a better world for all of our kids and our grandkids, could get compensated better, much better. Maybe Thomas couldn't be a gazillionaire, but he could probably be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more secure, not living in fear like so many of us are that what if we suddenly come down with some illness. So America could offer better options than living in the tent city. What would we call that? We'd call that housing first. America could offer better options so that people could spend more time with their family than they spend now earning the money to pay their rent. And we'd call that a living wage. America could become the kind of place where people could keep their savings, not spend them all on hospital bills when those unexpected illnesses happen. And what would we call that? Universal health care. And America could become a place where we have a pleasant and hospitable planet in the future for our kids and grandkids. And what would you call that? I call that the primary responsibility of government. I think the primary responsibility of government is to ensure the long-term survival and advancement of our civilization, of America, to make this world a better place for our kids and our grandkids. That's really been my standard now for a number of years, and I wish it were the standard of everyone in Washington. Because if you think about it, if everyone looked at every single congressional bill with that standard in mind, does this bill ensure a bright future for my kids and grandkids? Does it not just make my buddies rich? Well, then we probably wouldn't have any corruption in Washington right now. You know, where we're standing right here, 100 years from now is probably going to be underwater. And if 20 years ago the people in Washington had said, if what I'm voting is not going to help my kids and grandkids, why are we voting for it? Why are we trying to make some people rich in the short term, but we're neglecting the future? I think that standard is what Washington really needs. People to look at the long term and look at the big picture for all of us, not just for the short term and for getting their buddies rich. Service to our fellow man. That's the rent we pay for our room here on Earth. I like that. Like my friends, like a lot of you, I'm using the advantages I was born with and the talents I was given and the skills that I've learned through my long, strange journey to try to make the world a better place. But I think I can do better. So here's my answer. Why am I running for Congress? I think I can be of more help to all of you and to all of America and all of the planet by being in Washington than I can by being here. So that's why I'm running for Congress. And I like to say, in the end, all you leave is what you did. Join me. Let's do this together. Thank you.